Welcome to the Itinerant Staff Individual Calendar tutorial. I'm Allison Rogers, Instructional Technology Specialist here at RISA, and the purpose of this screencast is to demonstrate how to document, sign, edit, and finalize your individual calendar for the 2018-2019 school year. I will show you how to access and organize your new calendar in Google Drive. I'll show you how to update your new calendar in Google Sheets, and I'll show you how to request signatures for approval of your calendar using DocHub, which is an online PDF editor and document signing platform. So the first thing you want to do is go to your Google Drive and add the DocHub application. So I'm going to click on the gear icon and click Settings. Then I go to Manage Apps, and then I'm going to connect more apps. And I'm going to search for DocHub. And I can see that it is popping up right here. And I've already added it to my Google Drive, but if I did not have it added, I would hover over it and it would say Connect. So I would click Connect and I would add it to my drive. Okay, then I click Done. Now that it's been added to my drive, I'm going to go to the Shared With Me folder, because at this point in time, you'll have been shared the Itinerant Staff Individual Calendars folder. So I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to right click and I'm going to add this to my drive. So now this folder is going to live within my drive. Now I'm going into that folder, and now I can see that there is an 1819 folder that's shared to me. So I open up that folder, and now I can see the 1819 calendar. I'm going to open up this calendar, and your version will be a view only. So the first thing you want to do is go to File, Make a Copy, and everyone's going to set their naming conventions to be the same. So I'm going to rename this document by using my last name, my first name, and then 18-19 calendar. So everyone should be walking through these steps. And next I'm going to move my copy to my own folder. So I think this will help for organizing your calendars and the different drafts you may have. I'm going to click on Folder, and I'm going to actually go to my drive, and I'm going to create a new folder, and I'm going to call it my itinerant calendar. So I say create the folder, and then I'm going to put the calendar now in there. So I can see that the copied calendar that I created, that I changed the naming conventions of, is going to live in my folder that's specific to my calendars for the 1819 school year. And then I'm going to say OK. Then the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to go to the Share button. I'm going to make sure that this calendar is available to anyone with a link. So I click Advanced, Change, and anyone with a link can view, and then click Save and Done. So now I'm ready to fill out the calendar. So I'm going to start by putting in my name, and then my position, and then my number of days in contract. I believe for most of you it's 186. And then I'm going to go through and I'm going to actually fill in the days that I'm planning on working for this school year. So the way we have this set up is by default, the various dates throughout the year default to one day. So now you're just going to go in and select the days in which you are not working, or maybe the days in which you are working a half day. So you'll go through and select these for the different days. You'll notice some of the days, like for example, Labor Day, will not be able to be changed. You only have the option of 0 days. Similar to the itinerant staff meetings, you'll only have the option of the 1 day since it's a required meeting. So we've gone through and set those specific holidays and staff meetings, and then every other day is where you're going to go in and select the days that you are not working. So if I scroll down to the bottom, you'll be able to see the total days in which you're working. So right now you can see it's obviously listed as more than 186. But as I go through and select days I'm not working, that 242 goes to 241. So what's really nice about this calendar is it now just auto-calculates your days for you, so you don't have to count up the days. Every time you make a change here, it will reflect that in the total days. Obviously, you want to make sure your total days match the number of days in contract. So this number right here needs to match the number that you have up at the top here, your number of days in contract. So go through and set your calendar to what you want it to look like for 18-19 by just going to the drop down, selecting the days you will not be working. You can also use the notes section if you want to put in where you're going to be on specific days. You could put like the district, for example, or you could put in, maybe I'm going to be in Bath in the AM, Fowler in PM, or however you want to use the notes section is completely up to you. Please notice that the date section should not be edited or messed with at all, because there are actual formulas working behind the scenes in those date rows. So if you accidentally delete something or make a change to that, that would impact the calculation down here. So make sure that you're not making any changes to the dates. And if you accidentally do something to the dates, reach out to Denise Palmer or myself and we'll help you make that correction. So then once you've added all of the dates, the notes, and make sure your total days is 186 or matches whatever your contract says, then you're ready to start with the signature piece of this. You'll notice that there's a place at the very bottom for your signature, supervisor signature, director, and administrative assistant signature. So because this is your calendar, you can go ahead and just type in your signature and then make sure you throw in the date. And then we're going to walk you through the steps of how to use the new tool DocHub to get the electronic signatures of everybody else. So we're going to go to my drive, and you want to make sure that you're in that folder that we created your calendar in. So this, I called it my itinerant calendar. And this is, again, remember, this is the one that you own, not the one that you made a copy from, but the one that you actually own. So now I've added DocHub to my drive. So when I right click over my calendar, I have the option to say open with, and one of my options is now going to be DocHub. So I select that and it will open DocHub in a new tab. And once it's downloaded in DocHub, it looks like this. Now I can also get to DocHub by just simply going to dochub.com, and I can click new and I can pull in from Drive, what calendar I want. But I think that the process of going to your Drive, right-clicking, saying open with DocHub just makes it a little bit more seamless. You're opening the correct document right from Drive. So now I'm in my DocHub, and I have the calendar that I've already updated and made changes to. I know I have the right number of days that I want, and I've already put in my own signature. So now really all I need to do at this point is request signatures from the other 3 people that need to approve my calendar. So in order to do that, I go up to the little icon that says share or send, click that, and then I click on send sign request. And so now it's asking me who needs to sign this. Do I need to sign it? No, technically I already signed it down there, so that's fine. But I need to put in the emails of my supervisor, my director, and my administrative assistant. So, for example, I could put in Leslie's email and click add. I can put in Bob's email and click add. And then I can put in Pat's email and click add. So now I have my 3 emails loaded. I've noticed that the little initials are next to each of the emails. And this is the order in which they will sign the document right now. So if this was not the order that I want, if it wasn't supervisor, director, administrative assistant, I could actually drag and drop and move them around. But in this example, this would be the correct order. You'll also notice that I can enable the annotation feature. So if I wanted anybody to be able to annotate my schedule, I could click here. By default is disabled. The other feature is receives final copy. So what's nice is, even though Leslie will be the first person to sign this, she will ultimately, once all 3 people have signed, will get a copy of the final PDF, as will you. and this feature is by default enabled, so you don't have to necessarily turn it on. And then also you can click the trash can to delete anybody. So towards the bottom here, I can click Edit Message, and this is giving me a default message of what will be in their email. So when I send this email out, this is what they will see. Maybe I want to personalize it and, say, please review, approve, and sign, and then add my name. I can even change the subject line. And then I want to keep this signer order selected at one at a time. That's why we have it listed up here, right? We want this person to receive it and sign it before this person, before this person. So this is the proper order. So we're going to keep it one at a time versus all at once. So the last thing to do is to select Manage Fields, because right now we have not told anybody where to sign. We're going to actually manage those fields, so we wouldn't want to push the send request quite yet. We click Manage Fields, and so now once I get them in my PDF within DocHub, and I want to use this toolbars on the side. So the only two that I'm really concerned about are my signature field and my date field. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to select the signature field. You'll notice a little box pops up now, and I'm going to place that signature field over the supervisor signature box. And I can resize it if I need to. Okay, and now I need to tell it who should sign here. Okay, first and foremost, one thing easy to forget, I want to make sure I select required field, because I don't want this person to be able to review my calendar without signing it. So I click required field, and then I select the appropriate person. You'll notice that in this case, Leslie would be my supervisor, and so now her little initial pops up so she knows to sign here. I do the same thing when I select the date field, and I bring the box over here, and then I can resize it again if I want. Again, I'm going to make this a required field, and I'm going to say that Leslie will be putting her date there. So now I can see that these two boxes are for Leslie to sign. They're in green. And I can go through and do the rest for the other two boxes. So I click the signature box, throw that in here, resize it as needed, make it a required field, select the appropriate person to sign, which would be Bob in this example. Then I pick my date field, drag that over here, resize it as needed, and then make it a required field. Select the appropriate person. So now I can see these two are for Bob, these two are for Leslie. Good to go there. And lastly, I'm going to do my signature field for administrative assistant. Resize that box, select a required field, and pick Pat in this example. Then go to pick my date field, select the box there, resize it as needed, make it a required field, and select the appropriate person. So now I have this all set up for everybody to sign and date it, and in the right order. And everyone, once I send a sign request, everyone's going to receive the email. But the first person, in this case Leslie, she's going to receive the email. But in this example, Bob and Pat will not receive the email asking them to sign it until Leslie has signed it. So it goes in order because we want Leslie to sign it first, then Bob, then Pat. Now, once all three of them have signed it, all of us, so the three of them, including myself, will then receive a final email saying everyone has signed it, and here's like the actual final copy of the PDF with the signatures. One additional option, if you wanted to actually put in a real signature for yourself, you can go up to this sign button and click Create Signature, and it will give you the option to create a signature and sort of like preload it within DocHub. And to do that, you can throw in your cell phone number, it will text you, and then it'll prompt you to sign your name. And then you can also just draw it on the computer. You can upload an image if you already have your signature online, or you can select the different fonts to do a type version. You can also do the same thing with your initials. So this is how you would actually walk through the process of loading your signature. Once you've done that and it's already loaded, then you can just simply go sign and then select your signatures and then just drop it in. So mine is already preloaded. So this is an option that maybe down the road you want to preload your own signature, but it's not required in this case because you've already typed it in when you were working in your calendar in the first place. And so now I just simply click send as sign request, and it's going to just say, yep, these are the people you want to send it to. And you just, double check the order, make sure that's correct and everything, and your message is the same. And then I just click send request, and it will send it off. And just one thing to point out, make sure you always click OK, because if you don't click OK, it's actually not going to release the email to that person. So I'm going to say OK. And now I can see it says this document is in progress, and we're waiting on Leslie to sign it. Once she signs it, then it will go to Bob. And once he signs it, it'll go to Pat. And once she signs it, then we all will receive a final copy of the PDF calendar with everyone's signatures. And you'll get an email notification from DocHub saying all parties have finalized the document, and you can go ahead and click View Document, and I'll open it up in DocHub, and then you can download the PDF. And at that point, you'll want to right-click, Save As, and throw it in your Google Drive. And you want to make sure you put it in the right folder. And I'm going to click Save. And now when I go to my Google Drive, in that folder, I have the Google Sheet, and I have the PDF that has the signatures. Okay, so this is my final calendar PDF. But we know as the year goes on, there might be some changes that come up that you need to make to your calendar. So I want you to think of this PDF as your first initial sort of final calendar, but the Google Sheet is the calendar that you actually make changes in. So a few months down the road, I need to go into this Google Sheet and actually alter the number of days or which days I'm working and which days I'm not. So I would go into my sheet and make the changes. So think of your Google Sheet as always sort of that living, working document that's going to reflect the changes. And I can go in and alter whatever I need once I've made my appropriate changes. Now I'm going to go back to my drive, and I'm going to right-click on the Google Sheet. I'm going to say Open with DocHub. So now it's going to recognize, hey, this document looks familiar. Do you want to use the existing one that you've been working in, or do you want to create a duplicate? And in this case, I'm going to create a duplicate because I want it to be a separate PDF, because this is now going to be my draft number 1 or my updated PDF. So I say create a duplicate, and now I'm working in a duplicated PDF that is reflecting the changes that I made. So the first and very important thing I need to do here is I need to go up to the top and change the naming conventions. I'm going to keep the naming conventions to what we had, but I'm going to add draft number 2 and then the date in which I made the changes. So this is a really important step, because once I send it out for signatures and then end up saving the final PDF, put it back in my drive, I can differentiate. This is draft number 2. This is the most updated recent draft. This is different from that first PDF I created. So you want to make sure that you change the naming conventions in DocHub anytime you make changes on your calendar. In 3 months after this, you want to make changes. You go back to your Google Sheet, you make the changes, you bring it into DocHub, and then you change it to the naming conventions of, draft number 3 and add that date. So that way you're organized and everybody is aware of which is the most updated version of your calendar. So once you've changed the naming conventions, you walk through the same steps to request signatures. Click Share or Send, Send Sign Request, and then you throw in the emails of the people you want to sign it. Throw the emails in, click Manage Fields, and then you walk through the steps of assigning the specific locations to each of the people you want signing it. Don't forget to make sure that you make the fields required. Once you have that all set up, you click Send a Sign Request. The email goes out and everybody signs it in the appropriate order, and then you get that email notification saying all parties have signed the document. You view the document and then download the PDF, and then go to your Google Drive, save it, draft 2, and then if I go to my Google Drive, I will now have my draft 2. So I have my Google Sheet, which is my working document. Anytime I want to make changes, I go there. I've got my original calendar that is now out of date, since I now have my draft 2 that's reflecting the changes that are most recent. And just so you know, Pat will be in charge of moving the most recent PDF calendars to this itinerant staff individual calendar folder under 1819 approved staff calendars. That is where everyone's will live. So if you need to know where a fellow colleague is at whatever time, you will eventually have access to this folder and be able to look at their updated calendars. So that is the conclusion of our itinerant staff individual calendar tutorial. If you have follow-up questions or need further support, please contact Pat Chapko.